Hi bae. Oh my gosh, wow, not me actually posting another video at a decent time gap for once. Not like it was already pre-made or anything, but yeah, I definitely didn't trust myself to post part 1 before finishing part 2 and 3. And I'm sure you are well aware as to why. This is going to be part 2 of Flirting with Your Crush challenge. So without further ado, enjoy the video. IwaOi. The evening air was crisp, a soft breeze ruffling their hair as Iwaizumi and Oikoa made their way home together. It was routine by now, their steps falling in sync, Oikoa filling the silence with an endless stream of chatter while Iwaizumi hummed along or threw in the occasional sarcastic remark. Everything was normal, until Iwaizumi suddenly veered off course. Oikoa came to an abrupt stop, blinking in confusion as Iwaizumi turned sharply down a different street. Iwa, he called, hastily jogging after him. Where are you going? To the cafe. Oikoa furrowed his brows, catching up so he could walk alongside him again. Why? You said you wanted to go, didn't you? Iwaizumi glanced at him, as if the answer should have been obvious. So let's go. Oikoa blinked. You remembered? I said that like a week ago, haha. Iwaizumi didn't respond, just kept walking with the same casual stride, hands shoved in his pockets. Wait up, are we seriously going? Yeah, why not? Iwaizumi shrugged. We're not gonna do much at my house anyway. A smile curled on Oikoa's lips as he stared at him, warmth blooming in his chest. Oh, you're so sweet, Iwa-chan. He cooed, nudging his shoulder against Iwaizumi's. Iwaizumi stiffened for a second, his ears tinting pink before he quickly turned his face away. Oikoa, of course, noticed and felt heat rush to his own cheeks, but he masked it with a smug grin. They continued walking, shoulders brushing every few steps, a subtle electricity humming between them. Oikoa kept talking, hands gesturing as he ranted about something the underclassmen had done at practice, and Iwaizumi just listened, chiming in when necessary. The ease of it all, their natural rhythm, felt so familiar yet somehow different. Maybe it was just the way the streetlights cast a golden glow on Iwaizumi's face. Or maybe it was the way their hands kept accidentally brushing, sending tiny shivers down Oikoa's spine. He swallowed. What was up with him today? After about 11 minutes, they arrived at the cafe, warm light spilling from the windows. Iwaizumi reached for the door first, holding it open. Oikoa shot him a knowing look. Look at you, such a gentleman. Iwaizumi just rolled his eyes with a small huff, but the ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. They slid into a booth near the window, the cafe filled with a comfortable hum of chatter and the faint scent of roasted coffee and pastries. Oikoa picked up the menu, scanning it with bright eyes. Wow, they have everything, huh? I seriously don't know what to get. Iwaizumi leaned back against his seat, arms crossed. Get anything you want, Toru, it's on me. Oikoa froze mid-scan, slowly lifting his gaze. There it was again, his given name, slipping from Iwaizumi's lips so effortlessly, so casually, yet it made his stomach flip. His face heated up, but he masked it with faux suspicion. Really? What's the catch? Iwaizumi smirked. There isn't one. Oikoa narrowed his eyes. Sure. Iwaizumi leaned in slightly, voice low and teasing. But if you really want there to be one, let me pick the movie we watch when we get back. Oikoa gasped dramatically, slamming a hand on the table. No way, we already agreed on the new Alien documentary. Iwaizumi laughed, deep and genuine, and Oikoa's heart fluttered. God, Oikoa thought, he's unfairly attractive when he laughs. Fine. Iwaizumi relented. Just order already. Oikoa pouted but quickly turned back to the menu, finally deciding on a milk bread dessert with a strawberry glaze and an iced caramel macchiato. Got it. Iwaizumi said before standing and making his way to the counter. Oikoa let out a breath, slumping against the booth as he raked a hand through his hair. His heart was still hammering from, what exactly? The flirting? The effortless way Iwaizumi was being so attentive? The casual, almost domestic way they just decided to go on this not date? He pressed his fingers to his temples. Get a grip, Oikoa. It's just Iwaizumi. But was it really? A few minutes later, Iwaizumi returned, carefully setting their drinks and desserts on the table before sitting back down. Oiko's eyes lit up at the sight of his plate. Oh my god, it looks so good. He wasted no time digging in, cutting off a piece with his fork and popping it into his mouth, letting out a satisfied hum. Thank you, Iwa. Oiko beamed, and Iwaizumi forced himself to focus. Of course. He picked up his own fork, cutting a small piece of his dessert before casually holding it out across the table. Here, try mine. Oiko blinked at the offered bite, his brain short-circuiting for a moment. The gesture was so simple, but why did it feel like his face was about to catch fire? Still, he leaned forward, lips wrapping around the fork as he took the bite. Their eyes met for a split second, and Iwaizumi swore his heart actually skipped a beat. Oiko swallowed, then licked his lips. That one's really good too. Iwaizumi coughed into his fist, looking away. This challenge is gonna kill me. Then, he noticed something, just the smallest smear of frosting beside Oiko's lips. Without thinking, he leaned forward, gently swiping his thumb across the spot. Oiko stiffened, eyes wide as his breath hitched. Iwaizumi didn't move, his hand lingering just a moment too long. His fingers barely brushed Oiko's cheek, his gaze locked onto those wide brown eyes. The tension thickened. Oiko's pulse pounded. Is he gonna? Suddenly, Iwaizumi pulled back, clearing his throat. You had something on your face. Oiko swallowed, pressing a hand to his cheek as if trying to process what just happened. Then, he smirked. You admiring my beauty, Iwa? Iwaizumi didn't even hesitate. I am. Oiko short-circuited. He expected Iwaizumi to roll his eyes, shove him playfully, something, but no. Iwaizumi just smirked, turning back to his dessert like he hadn't just sent Oiko into a mental crisis. Oiko gaped. You tease. Iwaizumi grinned. I know you like it. Don't think I can't see you blushing. Oiko's jaw dropped. He scrambled for a comeback. Any comeback. And then. It's not my fault you're hot. Iwaizumi froze. Oiko froze. A long pause. Then. You think I'm hot? Oiko seemed to just realize he'd actually said that out loud. I. He spluttered, face rapidly heating up. I was kidding. Though his reaction clearly deceived him. Iwaizumi smirked, tilting his head slightly. Sure. Before Oiko could dig himself into a deeper hole, Iwaizumi stood up and walked over to his side, leaning in close. His breath ghosted against Oiko's ear, and his voice dropped into something slow and deliberate, almost teasing, almost dangerous. Well, I think you're very hot, Toru, and I'm not kidding. Oiko's brain shut down. Iwaizumi leaned back just enough to gauge his reaction, and sure enough, Oiko was melting. His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, as if trying to form words, but nothing came out. His brown eyes were wide, his face an adorable shade of red. Satisfied, Iwaizumi let his fingers run lightly through Oiko's hair, tousling it just a little before he casually returned to his seat, as if he hadn't just completely wrecked him again. Oiko stared at Iwaizumi, his dessert momentarily forgotten as his mind tried to process what had just happened. He replayed Iwaizumi's words over and over in his head. Well, I think you're very hot, Toru, and I'm not kidding. The way he had whispered it so effortlessly, the warmth of his breath against his skin, the way his fingers had brushed through his hair, it was all so much. He shoved a bite of his dessert into his mouth to distract himself, but even that didn't stop the heat spreading across his face. Iwaizumi, on the other hand, was far too pleased with himself, smirking as he watched Oiko's internal struggle unfold in real time. The way his fingers fidgeted with his fork, the way his eyes flickered anywhere but at him, it was all too obvious. Oiko finally huffed and picked up his drink, sipping on it to cool himself down. Damn Iwa-chan and his newfound boldness. You're seriously enjoying this, aren't you? Iwaizumi let out a low chuckle, casually taking another bite of his dessert. Maybe. Oiko rolled his eyes but failed miserably at hiding his flustered smile. He was used to teasing Iwaizumi, not the other way around, and definitely not like this. A comfortable silence fell between them for a moment as they both continued eating. The cafe had a soft, cozy buzz, muted conversations, the occasional clinking of cups, the hum of the espresso machine. It was nice. Then, Iwaizumi stretched his arms above his head and leaned back in his chair, sighing contentedly. Alright, should we head back? Oikoa pouted, poking at the last few bites of his dessert. Already? You're trying to escape, aren't you? Escape from what? Oikoa narrowed his eyes. From the very important conversation we're supposed to have. Iwaizumi grinned as he stood up, grabbing both their trays and bringing them to the trash before Oikoa could protest. When he returned, he leaned down slightly, just enough to be eye level with him. Oh, don't worry, we'll have that conversation, but I think you'll want to be somewhere more private for that. Oikoa swallowed thickly. Iwaizumi held out his hand to him, smirking. Come on, let's go. Oikoa hesitated for only a second before slipping his hand into Iwaizumi's, letting himself be pulled up from his seat. His heart pounded at the warmth of Iwaizumi's palm against his. Neither of them let go, even as they stepped outside into the cool evening air. They walked home like that, hand in hand, fingers interlaced, neither daring to acknowledge it. The air was thick with unspoken words, lingering glances, and a tension that neither of them seemed in a rush to resolve. But when they finally reached Iwaizumi's house, standing outside his door, Oikoa smirked up at him, mischief glinting in his eyes. So, Hajime, how private are we talking? Iwaizumi rolled his eyes, but couldn't stop a flustered smile from forming on his face. Get inside, Toru. Oikoa laughed as he stepped inside, and Iwaizumi followed, shutting the door behind them. Whatever conversation was about to happen, Oikoa was definitely going to make the most of it. BokuAka. The late afternoon sun spilled soft golden light across the quiet campus as Bakuto tugged Akashi up the final steps of the stairwell. Come on, Kashi, you'll love this, I promise. His voice echoed with excitement, practically buzzing with energy. Akashi followed with a quiet curiosity, his hand still loosely caught in Bakuto's grip. He didn't know where they were going, but the warmth in Bakuto's eyes made it hard to question him. They pushed through the rooftop door, and a gentle breeze swept over them. The sky above was painted in soft pinks and oranges, the city below basking in the fading light. The view was peaceful, the world suddenly quieter. Bakuto darted toward the railing, spreading his arms wide like he wanted to embrace the whole sky. Isn't this amazing, Kashi? The view's insane up here. Akashi smiled, trailing behind him. It is quite nice. He agreed, stepping beside him. The view stretched wide, a soft hush settling over the city as it bathed in sunlight. Bakuto turned to him, his golden eyes filled with affection. You know, Kashi, you're amazing too. His tone softened. Your sets, always perfect. When you're on the court with me, I feel like I can do anything. Akashi blinked, caught off guard by the sudden compliment. A blush crept up his neck. Thank you, Bakuto-san. He replied, his voice soft. I just do my best to keep up with you. Bakuto beamed, his smile wide and genuine. And you do it so well. I'm lucky to have you as my setter. He leaned a little closer, voice dipping slightly. But it's not just your skills that I admire. You're also really handsome. You know that? Akashi's eyes widened at the sudden shift, definitely not expecting the latter to say that. His cheeks darkened as he quickly looked away. Bakuto-san, you're being too much. He mumbled, though he couldn't deny the flutter of happiness in his chest. Bakuto let out a warm, happy laugh. He could tell Akashi was caught by surprise and he couldn't help but build up on that. I'm just being honest, Kashi. You're amazing in every way. He said, nudging Akashi gently with his elbow. It's actually hard not to compliment you. Akashi glanced at him from the corner of his eye, a rare hint of mischief playing in his expression. You're very handsome yourself, Ko. He said softly, a shy smile blooming across his face. The nickname made Bakuto freeze for a split second, then his face turned bright red. He always loved when Akashi called him Ko, and for some reason it hit a bit harder in this moment. He looked away quickly, trying to hide his flustered grin. Akashi, of course, noticed right away. After all, he basically had a whole encyclopedia on his emotions and mannerisms stored in his head. PFFT, what's with you, He teased, a quiet laugh slipping out. They stood there in comfortable silence for a moment before Pt.2 turned to him, seemingly planning something. Hey, Kashi, what's your favorite color? Akashi blinked. I suppose I like blue, he answered, unsure where Pt.2 was going with this. Pt.2's grin widened. Blue suits you, it matches your eyes. Akashi felt his cheeks go warm again, and he looked down, his fingers fiddling with the hem of his shirt. Thank you, Pt.2-san, he said, barely audible. Seeing him flustered, Pt.2's gaze softened. He gently reached out and tilted Akashi's chin upward, forcing him to meet his gaze. Hey, you don't need to be shy, I meant every word. Akashi's breath caught in his throat. His heart raced under Pt.2's sincere gaze, and just when Pt.2 seemed to realize how close they were, he quickly pulled back, flustered himself. Sorry, got a little carried away. Akashi stepped forward, closing the gap between them and swiftly taking Pt.2's hand in his, their fingers intertwined. No, I didn't mind. Really? Pt.2's eyes lit up. You're holding my hand, Kashi. Akashi turned an even deeper shade of red. We don't have to if it makes you uncomfortable. No, I want to. I've actually always wanted to. You have? Of course I have, I mean who wouldn't? Akashi laughed, unable to stop smiling. We should probably start heading back to class Or, really, can't we stay a little longer? The bell rang 4 minutes ago, he said, though he didn't sound very stern. Still, he tugged gently on Pt.2's hand, starting to walk toward the door. Pt.2 followed, their fingers still interlaced. As they descended the stairs, neither spoke for a moment, not needing to. Every light squeeze of their hands and the fluttering feeling in their chests said more than words could. KageHina. The fluorescent lights in the locker room buzzed softly above the quiet hum of post-practice exhaustion. Most of the team had already cleared out, leaving just the echo of running water and the sound of 2 pairs of sneakers scuffing the floor. Hinata dropped onto the bench, toweling sweat off his neck as he leaned back with a dramatic groan. I think my legs are gonna fall off. Kageyama, who was pulling his jersey over his head, snorted. They should fall off. You were late to every single quick. Hinata squinted up at him, lips twitching into a smirk. Excuse me, that's rich coming from someone who literally set a ball into my face. It was one time. Kageyama barked, defensive but clearly flustered. And your face was in the wrong place. Hinata grinned wide, leaning forward so their knees brushed. You think about my face a lot, don't you? Kageyama blinked. What? No, I don't. Or, you're blushing. Hinata teased, poking him lightly in the chest. Kageyama's got a crush. I do not. He mumbled, though his ears were flaming red. You're just annoying. You think I'm cute when I annoy you. Hinata said with a sing-song voice, turning so their shoulders bumped. You keep setting for me even when I screw up. That's because I trust you. Kageyama said before he could stop himself. The moment hovered between them, quiet, heavy, and a little breathless. Hinata blinked, caught off guard. Wait, really? Kageyama cleared his throat, staring intently at the ground. You're my partner on the court. I've seen you grow. I know what you can do. Hinata's chest tightened, his usual energy faltering for just a second. He looked at Kageyama with something softer in his gaze. That almost sounded like a compliment. Kageyama turned toward him, eyes steady now. It was. There was silence again, but this time it was thick with tension, not awkward, just electric. Then Kageyama added, voice low and almost smug. Also, you make stupid faces when you spike, and I like watching them. Hinata gawked. Ha. Kageyama smirked. I mean, you're kind of cute to stare at, even when you're yelling. Hinata's breath caught. He tried to speak but all that came out was a flustered. Wah. Kageyama. Kageyama raised a brow, enjoying this far too much. What? You said I'm nice when I'm not being an idiot, right? I'm just being nice. Hinata covered his face with both hands, shaking his head. I take it back. Go back to being a mean idiot. Kageyama chuckled, an actual, warm laugh. Too late. I'm already getting used to this. And I'm not an idiot. Hinata laughed, shifting a little closer, still hiding behind his hands but peeking out with one eye. If you keep being sweet, I might start thinking you like me. Kageyama stared at him, mouth parted slightly. And if I did? Hinata's breath hitched, his cheeks burned, but he didn't look away. Then I guess I'd say, about time. Kageyama blinked. Seriously? Hinata just laughed and stood up, slinging his towel around his neck. PFFT, you're so slow, Kageyama. As he turned to leave, Kageyama grabbed his wrist gently, standing too. Wait, tomorrow, same time? Hinata smiled, eyes dancing. Only if you promise not to hit me in the face again. No promises. Kageyama murmured, stepping closer so their foreheads nearly touched. But I'll make it up to you. Hinata's heart stuttered. Oh yeah, how? Kageyama smirked, letting go of his wrist but brushing his fingers against Hinata's as he walked past. Guess you'll have to stick around to find out. Hinata stood frozen for a beat, then broke into a giddy grin as he chased after him. You so have a crush. Their laughter echoed down the hallway, and neither of them could quite stop smiling. Fin. Of Part 2. Hi again. I hope you enjoyed Part 2. Part 3 will be posted a week from now, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching till the end and I love you. Mwah.